Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Armchair Keepers of Arcane Secrets. I'm your host, Bob Geis, joined as always with
host number 2, Matt Ryan.
And today we are going to be talking about Shadows over Stillwater, our Down Darker Trails campaign that Matt and I are both running us, not simultaneously, but nearly two with our pals in Indiana and
in New York. We're in Ithaca, New York, which is funny. There's a new big budget Odyssey movie out, right? And and Odysseus, the character, is from the island of Ithaca in the Greek Isles.
Well,
there's been a lot of jokes about his accent not being an Ithacan accent, and I think, well, I'm an Ithacan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, it's the same.
Did he sound like me?
A little bit. All right. So, Matt, I got to tell you the big news. I had my first session a couple weeks ago. I'm getting ready for session number 2 tomorrow, and it was great.
Let me bring folks up to speed. And here's what Bob and I do. This is our shtick. We did this with Mask of Nyarlathotep, which, if you're brand new to the podcast, you can watch our 1.5-year podcast of us doing it up through the campaign Masks of Nyarlathotep. But what we are doing is we are each keepers. And we're talking to each other about how we're taking a published supplement and changing it for our group, and how we're handling it, and the choices that we're making and why we make them. That's bringing us up to speed, right?
Yeah, adding a little bit more onto that for our longtime listeners. Now, again, with Masks, we stayed pretty much to the script, right? We really didn't go too far away. But I think that we're definitely taking liberties with Shadows, right? We're doing a little bit differently. And myself, out of necessity, as I'll get into.
We're taking great liberties with this. And maybe it's because, why is that, Bob? Is it because that this book doesn't have that same sort of weight and history that Masks has?
Yeah, I think there's something to that, right? Again, there's a respect for the source material that I certainly felt that I feel entitled to deviate too far. I respect the material too much, right? It has too much history behind it. With Shadows, it's newer, it's in a newer setting with less of a history, right? So you feel a little bit more leeway there. And, again, I'll just get right to it. I didn't know this until I was deep in planning for it, but one of the guys who's going to be playing in my team has read the book. It's like,
read it.
Yeah, read it. So again, well, I want this guy to play, but I don't want him sitting there on his hands or giving out spoilers. So let's just say we're taking a different trail down the darker trail.
So you've got massive work ahead of you.
Yes.
So
yes,
I haven't had anybody that's played it,
or
read it, but because I'm a tinkerer, and because of the experience I gained working with you as we went through Mask of Nyarlathotep, I'm much more comfortable in changing things around, and for my particular group, trying to make it much more of a campaign than linked episodes. But we've now I've had 2 sessions. Mm-hmm. Done. You finished your first.
Yep.
So quickly, tell us about character generation for your guys.
Yeah, for sure. So I've touched on this a bit in the past. So I definitely took a different approach than a lot of people probably did. So what I did for character creation, I told all of my players to listen to the song Devil's Right Hand by Steve Earle, right? And that there would be an individual hearing this essentially account from the mother who is mentioned in that song, right? So again, briefly, the narrator of the song it gets into trouble, right? And he blames a gun, which is the devil's right hand, for all of his troubles, right? And his mother is mentioned in the story, and she is the one petitioning the player characters to go find her son and get him out of hot water that he's gotten himself into, right? So that's the hook for all of the players, and they did a great job. They came up with a unique group of player characters, for this. So we have a couple of cowboys, we have we have a preacher, we have a Chinese immigrant who was so that's there's going to be a lot of fun stuff there, right? A lot of fun stuff to explore.
How big is your group? Is it 6?
Well, again, only 7 players, right? Only 7 players. Because a lot of people wanted to play in this, and I wanted to add additional people for that group stability thing, right? So if a few people can't make it, we can still play, right?
Yeah.
So we're going. In fact, we started with we started the campaign 1 player down. So I only believe I had 6 players, but full load I have 7. So I don't know what I'll get tomorrow when I play again.
Sure. Okay. Characters made.
Mhm.
Start talking.
Yeah. So I mean, again, they started off riding the rail from Topeka, Kansas, all the way out to Stillwater, New Mexico. Again, they can't get all the way by train, but that's where they started. And I wanted to do things, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I love I love history. I love the history of the West. And I just listened to an audio book about Jesse James. And so Jesse James made an appearance on the train, right? And it was just kind of a throwaway thing because, again, I just read that book. But the interesting thing is that one of the players, his character was from Missouri, where Jesse James was from, right? He was a Northerner, right? Well, not a Northerner, but a Union man, right? Whereas Jesse James was a Confederate, right? And so there they were on the train together, right? And then as they got to, I believe it was Dodge City, along the line, the player character recognized that it was Jesse. Jesse James got off the train, and he wanted to pursue Jesse James. The other investigators said, no, that's not our job. We don't want to do that. Let's not fool around with that. And so it was a really neat conflict, right, between that player and the group. I didn't even anticipate, right? Again, I just throw him in there as a cameo, right? But it kind of became a point. So that was neat. But again, it wasn't a big deal. They just traveled on through, and arrived in Stillwater, where they began their investigation.
Okay, so they're in Stillwater.
Yeah, I believe so.
First stop is Stillwater.
I believe so. Yeah. So I mean, I'm actually going to check the map. This expertly made map by Matt Ryan, flawless map.
Flawless.
So yeah, Stillwater is the first stop that they arrived in. So yeah, so they went, and I've introduced this little hook to another story about the Hanged Man's Mine, right? About this guy who found this mine, who found this claim, came back to the room, and told everybody about how he was bust, how he had blown it, how his claim had panned out, how he was done, and he ended up hanging himself, right? He hung himself in his room. Lo and behold, when the people went to see and they found him, they also found a satchel full of gold, right? Gold nuggets, right?
The best.
It's like, what is this guy's? What's happening here? And so again, the backstory is that now people have been searching for the Hanged Man's Mine, right? Ever since then, right? Because again, this guy obviously had flame and then they found it. They found the Hanged Man's Mine just recently. It's reopened. But everybody who's working the mine has, just talks about how terrible it is to work there, how it's awful, how they feel they're going to die all the time. There's just an enormous amount of stress involved in working this mine. And that's going to play out. There's one of the, and how I've kind of divided things up, Matt, is I'm introducing these little vignettes. There's little vignettes, these little threads throughout the thing as these guys are looking for Hank Hanratty. Hank Hanratty being that guy in the song, right? Hank Hanratty, who is this man who shot this miner, who they are looking for, right? And so again, that's going to be the framing device. If you remember, like with
But they're looking for him to return him to his mother.
They're looking for him to figure out what happened, right? Again, because the party, is not all, again, it's some people who say, we're going to get this guy and we're going to bring him back. Others are saying, we're going to get this guy and make sure that, justice is served, right? And that may be him at the end of a noose, right? Because if he did then he's a bad man. He's a bad man. He needs to be have justice served. But we'll see how that goes, right? And so again, but Hank Hanratty, that guy, is serving as the framing devices for these stories, right? And
Yeah.
so the hunt for Hank Hanratty is going to be the way I introduce the players to these other stories, right? So again, they're going to be introduced to this mine story, during their hunt, during their visit to Stillwater, right? And then they're going to go down the road to Santa Rosita. Santa Rosita is where this whole situation played out with Hank Hanratty, right? It's where he shot that guy, right? And so then, he escaped from custody, just like so he can, because he has to be free. He has to escape, right? So he escaped from custody, and now they're on the hunt for him. They're searching for him. And so, and then they're going to go to these other places, and essentially that was where my session ended, right? Where we did the character, that initial character build up, and then they went and they did some initial investigations in Stillwater, which led them to San Rosita, where they did some more investigations, right? And are just hearing about how this guy Hanratty, and the triggering event, right? How this happened is because this leads into another vignette. They were playing cards, right? They were playing cards, right? Gambling, doing the thing. And he was, with people, right? And then this kind of like miner who was not terribly bright. His name was Cousin Jack.
Jack.
Cousin Jack, yes. And he was a cheater. He was a known cheat, and he was a terrible cheat. And I mean that exactly that. He was a terrible cheat. He cheated terribly. He did a poor job of cheating. Everybody knew he cheated. It's like, you're an idiot, Cousin Jack. You're cheated again. And they would just blow him off. They wouldn't pay any attention to him. They would just ignore him because he was so bad at it. But this time, this known cheated, right? And when this happened, I think he threw down 3 aces, 2 ace of clubs, and an ace of hearts, right? Again, what's happening there, Jack? What's happening? That's not the way it works. But instead of just laughing like the other miners were at the table, the other gamblers were just laughing at him. Hank Hanratty drew on him and fired, gunned Cousin Jack down. Everybody was shocked. And so why did he do it? Why did he kill this man who was his friend, right? And was basically a joke, right? No one took him seriously. This was not something that was life or death. This was like a common occurrence with this knucklehead, but not today, not that day. Hank gunned him down, right? And so that's going to be another thing. So the players have some questions about what happened with that, and there's going to be questions about odd behaviors in this town, which are going to lead them into another vignette where they're going to go and they're going to find that there's a strange utopian society that has sprung up outside of Stillwater called the Seneca Settlement, right? Where there's some the Seneca Settlement, yes, which is the strange things are afoot there. Strange things are afoot in the settlement, right? And where they're going to
now, none of this is from the book. This is all 100% Geis originality.
Yes. And let me see, where is it? It's somewhere. It's right here. If you can see it, no, you can't see it. It's too hard. There's going to be one of the props from the shelf. Many of the props from the gaming shelf are coming down and are figuring into this game.
Well,
so
good. Get some use out of them.
Yes, for sure. So again, a spoiler alert here. It is actually a shan, right? The insects from Shagai, little bugs that fly into your brain, right? Yes. That is going from person to person, just screwing with things, right? While the Seneca settlement is essentially mining uranium to use to power simple ship so it can escape, right? That's the big tail, right?
Okay, so you've cut the snake man and you've used the shan or the shan or whatever.
There is a shan appearing in this vignette, right? So yeah, the snake men are out, the shan is in, but again, it gave me an opportunity to explain why Hank Hanratty gunned that miner down, right? The shan in his head, right? And then the shan just left because and then now, and when they find him, he's not going to know. I said, he's not going to have any idea why he killed Cousin Jack, right? So that's that. But I'm almost done. Tomorrow's session, right, is they're going to be, again, searching for Hank Hanratty, right? They're going to hear from people who, his friends, the people who are at the table with him, who say, "Well, I think that Hank he went on over towards Silver City, or maybe he went to Castanegro up north." Ah,
Because you want to run that
yes,
from this.
from that, yeah. So that's where they're going to
You're
go
gonna run that
next.
pretty much as written.
Yeah, again, there's going to be it's going to be streamlined, right? Again, there's some stuff in there that just doesn't make sense. That would make sense in a 1920s game, but won't make sense in an 1880s game, an Old West game. So it's going to be kind of a slimmed down version of it, but it's going to be fun, and and that's where they're going to go, or that's where they're going to be led tomorrow, is up to Castanegro to do that, the Secret of Castanegro scenario, and then find Hank up there. They'll find a situation up there, and they'll deal with the situation up there. But then they won't find him. They'll have to go back down, and
Right.
then that'll give me a chance. Because again, actually, he's over there on the little map here. Where is it? John Cross Ranch. That's where I'm putting him. He's at the John Cross Ranch, right? So they went past, and now they're going to have to go back up and find him, right? So yeah, there you go. There you go, Matt. And again, it's a great setting. Love it, and I'm having a heck of a good time with it.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. I've run 2 sessions. The first one I've talked about, mostly character generation, and then a quick little thing to kind of link the characters together. This last session, which was 6 weeks ago, I think that's how long it's been since we've played.
Wow.
Yeah, because things happened. Everybody was on vacations and whatnot. So here's a fun map that I found, which is essentially
nice.
That's the Santa Fe Trail.
Yeah.
Again, reading history and using history as it benefits us in a horror story.
Yep.
So I am not slavish to the history. But it is interesting. The Santa Fe Trail is ending in 1880, which is about when we're playing, as the railroad takes over. So you've got all these boom towns and whatnot growing up in New Mexico.
Yep.
So my group joined the Santa Fe Trail and ended in Santa Fe. We did a little work in Santa Fe. I think I know how I'm arranging the chapters to lead my group through this, and I'm starting backwards in a way. I think I'm going to thread them through the town of Shade first, and then into Stillwater, Santa Rosita, maybe up and back. But in my mind, the campaign climaxes at Stone Garden.
Okay.
Where Henratty, who in my running of this is a demented librarian who's trying to become a sorcerer with the staff of Yog-Sothoth, and they're on this trail. So we did a lot of westerny type things, and since we hadn't really hit any of the campaign yet, last session was Western trope after Western trope. And at one point, and I had a whole bunch of NPCs for them to meet in the Santa Fe wagon, and I had rumors about Comanche warriors that were raiding the trail and these different things. But I had bank robbers show up out of the blue. I had shot up bank riders, dripping with blood and money.
Oh, nice.
And I had 7 of them. So this is essentially the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid gang, or the James and what were the other brothers they rode with? The James and Young gang, the Younger gang. So it's essentially an equivalent of that group showing up. Now this group outnumbered the cowboys, the investigators.
Yep.
And they're armed to the teeth, right? And they're rough. So they force their way upon the wagon train, and they say that they're going to hide out in the wagon train until the Pinkertons are done looking for them.
Sure.
So my group, and this was sort of the high point of the night, and we'll talk about this narratively and mechanically because something happened that was really cool. One of the group is a poisoner.
Oh, wow.
So while they're all sitting around the campfire at night eating pork and beans, She decides to poison them, but not with a lethal poison, a poison that will render them unconscious, so that I think so maybe they could kill them in the night or disarm them in the night or whatever, right? Because they want to get rid of them. They also want the money. So I said, okay. So we figured out a skill to use as a poisoner, and I think it might have been botany. I can't remember exactly what it was now, but it may be a plant-based thing or maybe a natural worlds skill. I can't remember the exact skill. But I said, but if you succeed, then together we will concoct like the rules how this is going to work for these 7 different men. So the player Meredith succeeded with the roll. Okay, so so we thought about it, and I said, okay, here's how it's going to work. There's 7 of them, and they're all, as they're eating, they're all going to make a Constitution roll.
Mm-hmm.
If they fail the roll, and then they fall asleep. If they make the roll, they fall asleep because she succeeded with her poisoner roll.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was a good roll.
Yeah.
So if they make a con roll, they're going to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. If they have a hard success, they'll fall asleep, but they will wake up. They'll be groggy.
Okay.
And if anyone has an extreme success on their con roll, they will realize they're being poisoned while it's happening.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Right? So I laid this out on the table, and everybody really they all liked it. And then one of the players said, can we make the con rolls for the gang? And I said, yes.
Sure.
Because there was 7 members, and there were 7 of them. And of the 7, only 2 of them are there doing the poisoning.
Okay.
The other 5 are kind of hiding off. Okay.
Yep.
So we go through con roll, failed, con roll, failed, con roll, made, but that's not enough, right? Do until we get down to the last 3.
Yep.
We have a hard success.
Okay.
Which means he's groggy.
Uh-huh. Now, fall asleep and groggy, or just groggy, like, oh, I'm sleepy?
Well, that was fall asleep and groggy. Okay. Then we had another hard success. Fall asleep and groggy. Last roll, it was me, and I rolled an extreme.
Nice. Oh, that's great. That's super exciting. That's great.
Suddenly, everything changed because what this person did, who realized he was being poisoned, pulled his gun and shot one of the investigators.
Sure.
So suddenly, it turned into a blazing gun battle.
Yep.
And the folks that only had a regular success or failed, I said they were asleep.
Yep. They passed out. Yep.
The ones that had the hard success that were groggy, they had a penalty die imposed on their rolls.
Exactly how I'd have done it.
And then it just turned into a point blank shootout.
That's right.
And we had so I'm using the quasi pulp rule where they have twice the normal hit points that they would normally have.
Okay.
So instead of like 12, they've got 24, which is a lot of hit points for a Call of Cthulhu.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
But in that way, I mean, we've got handguns and rifles that do impale damage, right?
Yeah.
So this can be quite a lethal game, and there were several shots going off right away, and it wasn't lethal, but 2 or 3 of the investigators were severely hurt.
Good for you. Good for you. There will be blood.
They shot down the villains, but it was really a high point. You know, it was nice.
Oh yeah.
It was that I think that's a great example of the dynamic of a tabletop role playing game.
Yep.
Is kind of coming up. That would be a joint. That's joint storytelling right there.
Absolutely, it's perfect. It's great. I love it. And again, I think that's really good. I will say that even your group is less experienced than my group, right? I think that's a great thing, right? Because sometimes my group is much more passive, right? They're much more willing to be spoon-fed just because they've been doing it for so long. They're not as. That's the thing I love about new players is they will come up with new ideas that is really refreshing, right? It's really neat to see. So that's great. I think it was a great kind of way that had that play out.
Yeah, I like how that's sort of developed, and I'm really glad that player encouraged that group make the convos.
Yeah,
So
no,
then
that's just fun.
we did a little bit in Santa Fe, picked up the threads to move to Shade and the town of Shade, which is I think chapter 4 in the book. I think it's chapter 4 in the book. So Friday, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with them moving on to Shade and picking up the threads of Henratty's Trail. So I've got some work to do. I haven't read. I've got some reading to come up on. I've got to figure out a way to kind of backdoor a lot of it,
Yeah.
but I will.
Yeah. Again, it's like, making sure that, we give the players enough to do, right? But we also
Yes.
give them the threads to pull their way back out to the other part of the narrative, right?
Yes, and being open. For example, in Santa Fe, they picked up a local guide, which I didn't, which makes total sense, and they
Yeah.
rolled well. So I had to come up with something sort of on the fly. But
Yeah.
but that is the fun, especially for me, is sort of a long time keeper. That's the fun, is coming
Yeah,
up
it
on the
is.
fly.
This is a very different animal, Matt. I mean, because to a certain extent, while we have a lot more freedom, we also have a lot more responsibility, right? Because we don't have says, that the shopkeeper here is named whatever, and this is their motivations, right? We have to. I mean, again, it's easy to create that on the fly. It's tough to remember that later and
Yeah.
establish that, because then I'm all about fair play, and it's fair for that NPC who I've established to be there. Again, when they go see him, he's there, right? When she's there, whatever.
Yes, very true. Very true. Bob, we've run long again. Folks,
We had a lot to cover.
gone on. We haven't talked a lot about the prep for next time. So maybe when we meet again, it'll be another recap. We'll tell you the adventures at the table of running Stillwater, the campaign. Do you have any parting words, Bob?
No, it's this is going to be great. Just tune back in.
Tune back in. Stay with us, partners, as we ride the trail into Stillwater and beyond. Like and subscribe. Share us if you will, and we'll see you soon.